Hello everybody and welcome to GameGuru MAX live broadcast number 49. That's right, 49, one away from 50. What a road it's been. So, what are you going to listen to today? We're going to listen to me talk about the internal developments of GameGuru MAX. And as you are probably guessing, yes, this is live. This isn't pre-recorded, not live. This is live. So, before I go any further, just want to make sure everyone can hear me loud and clear. So I'm going to look for we can hear you. Yes, Lee, we can all hear you. Thank you very much for those who posted into the live chat. Another live chat has a delay of about 15 seconds, so you anticipated my question very well, so thank you for that. So the format's pretty simple. You can ask your questions in the live chat. Put a question mark at the end. I will scan through towards the end of my broadcast, find those questions and provide you with some verbal answers. The ones I can't get to will be part of a GameGuru forum thread along with a recording of this broadcast. So what I want to show you today is some stuff. So for the next couple of weeks it's going to be asset related. So you won't see a lot of big new features apart from a few bug fixes. What you will see is assets and more assets, and not just assets in the asset library but all kinds of lovely art. So without further ado, I am going to go into GameGuru MAX, the software. This is what you're going to see on Friday. So this is the change log that you'll be able to get on Friday if you're a pre-order user. More on that in a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to dive into the first part. Now, for the longest time, you've probably seen this, the tutorial panel. Well, we've actually, it only took about 3 months, got our first built-in video tutorial ready and waiting for you. So we've picked object grouping because this is one down here that we added. It's not super complicated, but there is some different features to it. And so now you can press the big play button.
Grouping objects.
And then you got a nice
grouping objects together
video.
will save
And you
you
can go full
a lot
screen
of game editing time
as well.
Now, when you combine objects together, you can instantly copy the same layout of objects many times, and then make subtle changes without having to start from scratch each time. Okay, let's see how to use the grouping objects features. An object group is made up of multiple objects. You can create a group by dragging in the objects and positioning them how you want them. In this example, we're going to group all these objects together to make a small bunker defense area. Okay, so press and hold the shift key, then left click and drag a rubber band around the objects to highlight them all. Now click on the group objects icon. An icon is created that represents this new group. Once you have created a group, you can use this icon to drag in another group. The group can be moved around the level by selecting any of the objects within the group. You can edit the contents of the group by selecting the group and selecting the Edit Group icon. Whilst the Edit Group icon is highlighted, you can make adjustments to the contents of the group. When you're finished, select the Edit Group icon again to stop editing. As you can see, the icon is updated to reflect the new arrangement of the group. Finally, if you no longer require the group, you can select the Ungroup Objects icon. And now the objects are individual again.
And so there you go. I was hesitant to talk over the video in the past. Me talking and then some audio coming out, you couldn't hear me speak and it wasn't really much of a great presentation, so I thought I'd let it play through to the end. Now you can play it full screen or you can play it in this little video here, but the upshot, as you see, is pretty simple. It picks a section of the software and then gives you a great presented video tutorial on that section. And we're going to plan to put videos in throughout the software so there is no stone unturned in terms of how to use all of the features of GameGuru MAX. So that's one of the things I wanted to show you. So you'll get that in the Friday build. Expect more videos like that as we roll out builds every week. But the big thing I want to show you is the new additions to the character creator. So we was aware of the hair and the beards and things weren't great, and so we have made an effort to change them all. So this is one of the new hairstyles, as you can see. It looks pretty decent. And if I can change the hair to this, which I think you saw in the last broadcast as well. So we'll go for a swept back look. So that's the second of the new hairstyles. Looks really nice. But we've added 2 more since then. So now we've got hair for cropped. So let's say go cropped blonde. So you've got this sort of nice look. And then you've also got another one, which would be Viking blonde. Obviously you get different colours. I'm just going to go with blondes now. So that's the 4th hairstyle. So you've got much nicer hair rendering for all the characters you can create in the character creator. And we thought, you know what, let's not stop there. Let's make sure that the facial hair is correct as well. So now we've got, let's stick with the blonde theme. So scruffy blonde. So you got a little bit of a scruffy, stubbly beard and mustache effect. We can go for a proper beard. So let's go for a blonde beard. Like that, so you got like a proper blonde beard, and then you can carry on. You've also got mustache blonde. So that's just the top of the lip, and then you finally got biker blonde, which looks like this. So as I say, you got all the colours, and those are the styles. So you got 4 brand new hairstyles. You've got 4 beards. I dare say we will continue to add to this collection, so you can make more and more customizations of your characters. But we really wanted to get just the rendering and how the alphas work properly done with all of the hair that you would get on heads. So that's the guys. We've also done some female hairstyles as well. So I'm going to switch to our female base model. And this is the military contractor face with the excessive makeup. And if we look at the hair choices, we've got ponytail. So if I just show you that, there's a nice ponytail poking out the back. We've also got braids. So let's go braids black. So as you can see, you've got the sort of braid thing going on. And then you've also got wavy. So let's go wavy black, which is pretty scruffy. So if you remember the military contractor hairstyle, which looked like something made out of plastic, well, this is actually proper looking hair, so we'll probably redo the characters to use this new hairstyle for all the stock characters you just want to drop in, rather than creating your own in the character creator. But because I want to show you something else in regards to the eyes, I'm just going to get rid of this because the hair is covering the eyes right now. So let's go back to braids. Let's go braids purple. Let's get a bit crazy. So that's a bit of colour going on. And I'm going to change the head style to Caucasian face. To get rid of the makeup, zoom in a little bit, and as you can see right now, the eyes are a little dull, a little basic. So let me just call this dull. Let's say dully, because what I want to show you is the plans that we have. So let me just save that character out. If you remember from the last broadcast, before you just dump your character into some impossible to find folder, you can now set up your preference. You can set keywords, set a backdrop, but I'm just going to go straight to finalize this character. Shows you the place where you've put the character, and you can select it right away. Drop it into your level. You've already seen this. You've seen this in the last broadcast. But what I want to show you is the eyes. Now, we've only experimented with one base model head, but we've got a few tweaks to do. But by Friday, my hope is that all male and female eyes, and to some degree skin, will be able to use this new feature that I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to material customization. I'll go to head to select this head mesh. There's lots of different meshes. There's a head mesh, body mesh, there's legs mesh, feet mesh. So this is the head mesh. And if I increase the reflectance term, you see what's happening? I'm going to ramp it up to 1 first, the excessive stupid amount. See what's happening to the eyes? See how the eyes are getting reflective? Maybe we'll look a little bit closer. Not that closely. There you go. So you can actually see the eyes are getting nice and reflective. Well, the reason it's not going crazy, and what I mean by that is, if I just scroll out a little bit and select the body and do the same thing, look what happens when I set the reflectance to like halfway. Basically, it's just, full reflectance. That's crazy. So what we want to do is include an additional alpha channel to the surface texture of all the characters in the character creator, such that when you ramp up reflectance, it's a reasonable term based on this model. So ignore that for a moment. I just want to show you that's what you got last week and all previous weeks. So just set that back to 0 and I go back to the head. Look what happens when I select it here. It's not going all metal and Terminator 2. You know, at the most you're getting some extreme reflections under here. But that's only because it's just the head and it's not the skin of the body, etc. So the idea is we'll provide an extra alpha channel into the surface texture for all the textures of all the character parts, character body parts, such that when you ramp it up, you can control the reflectance of all of the things of the body, particularly eyeballs, mouth, skin, that would benefit from a little bit of reflectance. You see, eyes definitely benefit from reflectance. I also think to some degree skin. I think skin would benefit from a little reflectance. And so when you move this reflectance value, you get some sort of global control over that reflectance without it being completely ridiculous. So that's our plan. We've only really done it for the eyeballs for the base female head. But we're now in the process of saying, you know, this is a really good idea, let's do it for all the textures. And so we will. And anyone who actually uses the custom material system a lot says, why is my surface texture black? Well, the actual texture that you see is a combination of all 4 channels, red, green, blue, and alpha. And if you have an alpha value that's really low and you multiply it with all the channels, you ultimately get pretty much black. Because the reflectance value in the alpha channel is extremely low. Because when you set, if it was set to 1, which is what most of the regular objects are, and then you set that to 1, you will get full reflectance. But then it's so reflectant it wipes out everything else. So it's basically a low value in the alpha channel and a very carefully considered global application of that reflectance on the overall mesh. So, sorry if I went into a little bit of techno geek mode. I just wanted to sort of paint a picture of what we're kind of doing right now. So on the Friday build, we're going to have some nice juicy jelly eyeballs and maybe some other bits and pieces scattered around these skin parts of the character creators that you can create. The characters that you can create in the characters, I should say. So I've been glancing across. I've been quite clever in that I've put the pop-up window and I'm going to drag it across now, and I have been clever enough not to be distracted by it, but you are definitely posting. I can see lots of lovely things being posted, and I'm going to start looking now for some questions that you have, maybe about what I've been talking about, maybe about GameGuru MAX in general, maybe about something completely different. So I'm looking for apologise, question marks, and let's see how many minutes I have left to answer them. 2 minutes of officialdom, because I want to keep these broadcasts to 50 minutes or thereabouts, but then I always allow another couple of minutes and then maybe a couple of more minutes after that. So without further ado, without dwindling minutes, let's look for a question mark. Print F, hash, we can hear you, like it. Okay, looking for the first question of the day. No question marks yet. No question. Oh, here's a question mark buried in the sentence. Fearless we. The video streamed from a cloud server. Are you including it in the software itself? If they aren't heavily compressed, that could greatly bloat file size. You have no idea. The videos aren't too bad, actually. The one you were just watching was about 200 meg. I think we're going to have about 30 to 50 videos. So what would that be? 200, 2000, 10, probably 10 gig potentially. I think we will compress them. The videos we're producing are really quite high res. I want to keep them that way so we can maybe post them on the YouTube channel and keep them high res, but maybe when we include them in the software we can do some savvy compression so you get your cake and eat it. If you're running offline, you do not want to depend on a cloud to provide those videos. So we do want to include them in the software itself, but obviously not at the cost of additional 10 gigabytes. We do have some plans to parcel out different chunks of assets, and you get to choose which bits you want to auto update as you use the software. We're not going to force you to download the entire thing in one big block. We're going to cut it up and you get to choose what you download. Or you can just say, I want everything downloaded and just leave it overnight. So yeah, great question. I think we will probably look at compression. Because I agree, I don't want 10 gig of video being added to your core product. Looking for another question. This is from on Glass. Can you follow along in real time with the video? If not, what's the point? Would rather have on YouTube in a separate window so I can click along. Yeah, you don't have to use any features of GameGuru MAX. We thought it was a really good idea that rather than go to YouTube, you could actually have context-based video tutorials right there when you need it. If you're in a particular section, you've actually got a video right there. You click it and it talks about that section. You don't have to go hunting for it. And you can follow along. You can have it run in the little window. You can make the right panel wider to make that video bigger. You can pause and resume, or you can restart from the beginning, that video. So you have all the same controls as you would have in YouTube, but it's actually built into the software. Hopefully that answers some of your questions. Here's a question from Paul Walker, brackets question. When importing assets and a texture has been applied, it can be changed. Oh, can it? Oh, good. Also, since the last update, normals often are not applied and can't be chosen. Will this be solved soon? Sounds like you've listed 2 bugs. Best place to put bugs is in our issues board and provide enough steps so we can reproduce the issue that you're seeing, so we can follow those same steps and we can see the issue, and then we can say, aha, that's what's going wrong, and we can fix it. If your bug relies on a particular model that you're using and you have the right to redistribute it, please include that either in GitHub if you've got the right permissions, or email it directly to me, or if neither of those are possible under the license rights of the model, let me know where you bought it from and I'll buy it myself and I'll check it out. But we do need to be able to reproduce something before we can fix it. So yeah, bugs on the GitHub issues board. If you don't know where that is, just post in the forums later on and I'm sure you'll absolutely definitely get an answer. Okay, another question from Aaron Glass. Are all these characters offsprings of cousins from Alabama? Not a clue. I don't think so. I think they've been created by an artist out of his fevered imaginations. So yeah, if you've got any critique on the number of character choices you've seen so far and you want to throw us some different maybe mood boards of different characters you'd like to see created by the character creator, definitely send them along again through the GameGuru forums. Definitely the best place to have conversation, not only with us, but with the rest of the community, see if they agree or not. Here's another question from Fearless We. Will alt texture and video textures ever make a comeback from FPS Creator? Both are incredibly useful. Alt texture, no, I don't think there'll be an alt texture. It's certainly not in the dev plan. Video textures, by that I presume you mean sort of a 16 frame texture atlas, and then you can apply that to a decal and then run that through, so you've got like a really performant video sequence going on within your game. I think that will happen. I think there will be stuff for that. Think of it like monitors. You go into a room and there's a monitor flickering away. You don't really want to play an MP4 within that monitor, but certainly some sort of texture atlas animation trick. At the moment we don't have it because the shaders that we have are probably not that savvy on them. But we are already in the process of creating our own custom shaders, and I think that's a really cool feature to include in GameGuru MAX. So please do continue to remind us on the forums so we don't forget it. Even better, again, post it on the GitHub issues board as a feature request so it never gets lost and we eventually get to it and assign it to someone who will be able to implement it for you. So looking for another question, scrolly. Here we go. This is from Lucas Dienguez. I hope that's pronounced right. Is there an estimated date for the terrain editor, and will the building editor return in GG Max? The building editor, as we call it, the structure editor, is already in GameGuru MAX, but it's hidden in the settings developer tools tab. Activate developer tools, you'll see the structure editor button, select that and you'll get your structure editor back. You can continue to create floors, walls and ceilings as you did before. So hopefully that give you the clues to go find that. Estimated date for the terrain stuff? Not yet. No, we are still working in the background, making sure that it looks great, that it works great, does all the things that we want it to do. We're not going to wait until it's absolutely, totally finished, because you'll be waiting a very long time. But we are going to hold back on including that in one of our Friday builds until at least it looks like we want it to look, and it is performant as we need it to run in a modern game sort of modern game specification. So we don't, for example, we don't want the terrain system to look good and be horribly slow. So those are the two sort of tick boxes that we need to tick internally before we can show you the terrain stuff. But as soon as we get to that point, can't wait to show you. It's really, really good. Here's a question from Nigel Weatherbear. She looks like she was drawn in crayon. Why so poor compared to male character? I assure you the female character was not drawn in crayon. Beyond that, artist subjective. I think this female character looks better than any previous female character that we've ever had in GameGuru. We are using modern game examples to sort of figure out what modern games look like. But if you want to extend your critique into details so we can figure out what you mean, because I don't really understand it when you say it looks like it was drawn in crayon, then I will be able to communicate that to the artist and maybe we can make some improvements. So, looking for a question mark, no question mark there, no one there. Here's a question mark from BGS Informatica. Co-op or multiplayer as a standalone planned. There are no plans in the version 1 release to include co-op or multiplayer in GameGuru MAX. Please see previous 15 broadcasts for an almost identical answer. So if you are following GameGuru MAX on the hope that you'll be able to create multiplayer games, probably best you stop following. There are no plans to include multiplayer in the first version. We have researched Photon. Again, refer to previous broadcasts. Yeah, I've kind of made this speech many times, but we have researched Photon, which will be our choice for when we do multiplayer, but please don't hold your breath for multiplayer to be in version 1. I suppose that's the short answer for you. Looking for another question mark, which is right underneath. I'm not even repeating that question. On the grounds I may be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Looking for another question mark. Here's a question from Fearless Wee. While we are talking about character rendering, what about subsurface scattering for ears and nose? Yeah, great question. I think Wicked Engine does support subsurface scattering and playing around with it. Really nice and cool. It may be we get to that point. Once we've finished off the eyes and other bits and pieces, we may look at our characters again and say, you know what? We need subsurface scattering. We're certainly going to look at the artifacts you currently see with self-shadowing. And so maybe it's a natural step that once we've solved all those, it's clearly obvious that we need subsurface scattering. For those who don't know, subsurface scattering is, how do I describe this? Let's say you had an ear, you was looking at someone's ear, and right behind the ear, and then obfuscated, was a large light bulb. And you can actually see a bit of the light going through the edges of the ear, outside of the ear, as the light sort of scatters through the ear. And that's kind of the trick, and it looks really good. Obviously, you won't appreciate it when the character's 4,000 feet away, firing a rocket launcher at you, but if you're right up close and you're creating more of a narrative game where you've got up-close character conversations, then yes, subsurface scattering definitely plays a role in the realism of your characters. So we will be looking at that because Wicked Engine does support it. But it's not in the dev plan, and there are absolutely no promises that we will actually have that in version 1. So just checking the clock, I have gobbled up time like it was free. So usually up to 2 minutes, I used up the 5 minutes that I didn't have, and now I've added an additional 4 minutes that I definitely didn't have. But as is my custom, I'm going to pick 2 questions from people who've not asked a question before. I'm going to answer those, and then the rest I will do in the GameGuru forums. So looking for a question. Yes, Asset Junkie hasn't asked a question before in GameGuru Classic. It makes it very hard to import new FP arms weapons. What will be done to make this workflow a lot easier for new users and artists to bring in custom weapons into GameGuru MAX? Nothing. We're not adding weapon makers into GameGuru MAX. You have to be pretty much a technical artist in order to create weapons and arms and then animate them and then rig them correctly and then set them up so they work with the games engine. This is not something that's very easy to do. You need a lot of skills to be able to create this stuff. And so we're not trying to tackle that. What we are going to do instead is provide you with a template of raw files and a guide on how you can actually create your own stuff. But it's not for the faint-hearted. And for everybody else, we will work with artists to produce weapons and things that we can add to the product. So all you got to do is pick a weapon, drop it into the scene, run the game, collect that weapon, and it just works. So that's what most people will be getting. Just a selection of weapons that they can configure and then use in their game as they see fit. And right underneath, Retro Game Bloke hasn't asked a question, so you get the honour of the last question of the day. Will we be able to adjust reflectiveness in lure at some point? For example, slowly getting wet in rain. What a great idea. I don't see why not. I think if you think about it, the reflectance built into the alpha channel of the surface texture, you can, because that's really a pre-bake. But that reflectance term I was playing around with in the custom materials, that's just a value applied to the whole mesh of an object. So why wouldn't you be able to have a lure command which lets you change that value during the game, as you say? If you set up your alpha channel correctly, maybe like the top parts of things, as if when rain drops down on something, the top parts of things have a stronger reflectance in the alpha channel, then increasing that global reflectance when it's wet and then reducing it when it's dry would be a nice trick indeed. Please do add that to the GitHub issues board as a feature request and maybe email me so I can set it to a high-ish priority. I think it's not super difficult to do, and it'd be a pity if it was just forgotten, because it's not really a lot of work to do. And it will be a great feature, especially like say we are doing weather effects, so when it rains, wouldn't it be great if you have certain objects that know it has a wetness control and you can just ramp them up and then dry them out over time? Really nice idea. So thanks for bearing with me on this super extended questions and answers time. I feel like I did owe it to you because it was not a live broadcast last week where you got to ask and answer. Ask no questions and I got to answer no questions. So maybe it's quite fine, and it was part of the universal plan that I had extra time for answers today. Normal service will resume, I hope, next Wednesday at 4 p.m. GMT, when I'll be able to reveal more assets. Not necessarily character creator, probably more in the region of the asset collection and maybe some other bits and bobs surrounding that. In the background, I'm continuing to work on lots of lovely bits and pieces. I'd love to tell you what I'm working on, but again, we only really want to talk about stuff when it's in a demonstratable state, and right now it isn't. But I can hint at the fact that it might have something to do with a very intelligent, not zombie. I will leave it at that. I will just leave that carrot dangling. So yes, I just want to finish up by saying, if you are new to this channel and you don't know what's going on, we're talking about a developer version of GameGuru MAX. It's still in development, very much still in development, but you can get access to the Friday builds every Friday if you're a pre-order user, and right now we're offering a 25% discount to pre-order the product, and then you start getting these builds, which is every Friday, come rain or shine. And what is this? Well, this is a live broadcast we do every Wednesday at 4 p.m. GMT. So until next Wednesday's 4 p.m. GMT, thanks very much for your attention, and I shall speak to you next week. Goodbye.